Genesis 37 opens a dramatic chapter in the story, God's covenant family. It's the beginning of a personal journey of Joseph, the son of Jacob and Rachel, that spans betrayal, slavery, and ultimately redemption. At just 17, Joseph is introduced not merely as the second youngest favorite child, but as the chosen to fulfill a divine destiny. Yet, before the fulfillment of his dreams, he must descend into the valley of rejection, injustice, and despair. The chapter sets the stage for how God can use pain to shape purpose, how rejection can lead to revelation, and how a dream that comes from heaven often draws fire on earth. Here, the story begins with Jacob, also called Israel, settled in Canaan, the land of his father Isaac. He had many sons, but among them Joseph stood out. Joseph was born in Jacob's old age through Rachel, the wife he truly loved. This affection led Jacob to openly favor Joseph, and the most visible sign of that favoritism was an ornate robe, often described as a coat of many colors. This robe was more than a gift, it was a symbol of honor, possibly a royal type garment, setting Joseph apart from his brothers. His brothers noticed the favoritism and hated him. The Hebrew text emphasizes their growing resentment. They could not speak peaceably to him. Every time they saw the robe, they saw a reminder of their father's partiality and their own rejection. Joseph's favored status created a family dynamic simmering with jealousy and unspoken bitterness. Now here we see the dreams that sparked jealousy. Joseph begins to receive dreams, prophetic revelations from God. In the first dream, he and his brothers were binding sheaves in the field, and his sheaf rose upright while theirs bowed down to it. The meaning was unmistakable. Joseph would one day rise above them in authority. And when he told them about the dream, they hated him even more. "Will you indeed reign over us?" they asked, their pride wounded. Then came the second dream. This time, the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down to Joseph. And when he told this dream to his family, even Jacob, his father, rebuked him, questioning if Joseph truly believed the entire family would bow down before him. Though Jacob scolded him, the Bible says he kept the matter in mind. Deep within, perhaps Jacob sensed that these dreams were not mere fantasies. God has spoken before through dreams, and this could be unfolding of something sacred. But for the brothers, it was too much. They could not longer tolerate the dreamer. Soon after, Joseph was sent by his father to check on his brothers, who were tending the flocks near Shechem. This task was over 50 miles from Hebron. It shows Jacob's trust in Joseph's integrity and reliability. When Joseph arrived in Shechem, he couldn't find them. A man told him they had moved on to Dothan. Joseph pressed forward, unaware that the divine setup for his descent into destiny was already in motion. Joseph's brother saw him coming from a distance, likely because of his distinctive robe. As he approached, they plotted to kill him. But Reuben, the oldest, intervened. He convinced them not to kill Joseph outright, but to throw him into a cistern, likely hoping to rescue him later and return him to Jacob. Reuben's words show that not all the brothers were equally hard-hearted, but his influence wasn't enough to fully stop the plot. They stripped Joseph of his robe, a symbolic attempt to remove his status and dignity and threw him into a dry cistern, means a dark and empty pit. While Joseph lay in the pit, the brothers sat down and relaxed. The contrast is stunning. Joseph is suffering alone in darkness, while his brothers were enjoying, unmoved by his cries. Then they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites headed toward Egypt. Judah suggested they sell Joseph instead of killing him. His reasoning was pragmatic. Why shed blood when they could profit from his disappearance? In the absence of Reuben, they pulled Joseph from the pit and sold him for 20 shekels of silver, the price of a young slave. This detail is prophetic. Joseph becomes a type of Christ, sold by his own brothers for silver, rejected and despised, but destined to save them in the end. This was the turning point. Joseph the dreamer was now a slave bound for Egypt. The roe was gone, his freedom gone, but the hand of God was still upon him. And when Reuben returned to the cistern and found Joseph is not there, he got shocked and distressed. He tore his clothes and mourned. But instead of confession, the truth to Jacob, the brothers devised a cruel deception. They took Joseph's robe, dipped it in goat's blood, and presented it to their father. Jacob recognized it and assumed the worst, that Joseph had been devoured by a wild animal. Jacob tore his garments, put on sackcloth, and entered deep mourning. No one could comfort him. His words are heartbreaking. I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave. He wept for Joseph as he were dead. This section captures the devastating consequences of betrayal, not just for the victim but for the family left behind. The brothers had succeeded in their plan, but it left a scar on their father that would last for years. The chapter ends with a brief but powerful statement. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. It may seem like a closing details, but it is loaded with divine providence. Joseph is not just in Egypt, he is placed in the house of a high-ranking official, close to the seat of power. Even in slavery, God is positioning Joseph for influence, for leadership, and for the fulfillment of his dreams. The stage is set. What his brothers meant for evil, God will use for good. Joseph's story is far from over. In fact, it has only just begun. Here we learn some spiritual lessons from this story. Number 1. God speaks through dreams. Joseph's dreams were not daydreams or delusion. They were revelation from God. Often God gives us glimpses of our calling before we are ready, so He can prepare us through testing. Number 2. Favor can bring conflict. Joseph's favor brought him into trouble. Favor is not always celebrated. It can provoke jealousy, but divine favor, which comes only from God, brings divine protection. Number 3. Betrayal often comes from within. Joseph wasn't betrayed by enemies, but by his own brothers. This foreshadows Christ's betrayal by Judas and reminds us that pain from loved ones is real, yet redemptive in God's hands. Number 4. God works behind the scenes. Though unseen, God's hands orchestrated every step, from the dreams to the pit, the sale, and the final placement in Potiphar's house. In our own lives, God is silently shaping a greater plan. And the last one is, preparation comes before promotion. Joseph had a destiny to rule, but before the throne, pit and prison came. God often uses difficulties to shape characters before He brings us into fulfillment. Genesis 37 ends with Joseph. alone in a foreign land, a slave in Egypt. Yet, behind the darkness, a sovereign plan is unfolding. His brothers thought they had silenced the dream, but they were actually helping fulfill it. This chapter reminds us that our pain, betrayal, and trials may be the beginning of divine journey. God never wastes suffering, like Joseph. Your story may begin with a pit, but God has a place in mind. Hold on to your dream. Even if you have been stripped, betrayed, or sold out, God who gave the dream is faithful to fulfill it.